Welcome back to Million Coins, the channel where we prove that you don't need to be a millionaire to find a fortune. You just need to know what to look for in your pocket change. Today, we are diving deep into the modern era of Lincoln cents. Most people assume that valuable pennies have to be from the 1900s or the 1940s. They think a penny needs to be old, weedy, and worn to be worth anything. But that assumption is exactly why so much money is left on the table. The truth is, some of the most explosive values in the coin market right now are coming from coins that you might have spent at the grocery store yesterday. We are going to look at two specific years that changed everything for collectors: the 1979 Lincoln Memorial Penny and the 1988 Lincoln Memorial Penny. These two coins look completely normal. They look like the millions of other pennies you have ignored your entire life. But hidden within these two dates are specific varieties, transitional errors, and minting mistakes that turn a 1-cent piece into a coin worth hundreds, thousands, and in rare cases, even more. We are going to break down exactly what you need to look for, step by step. We will cover the blob, mint marks of 1979 and the famous FG secret of 1988. So, before you roll up your change and take it to the bank, you need to watch this video. You might be holding the key to your next vacation right in the palm of your hand. Let's start with the first coin on our list.
I want you to take a close look at the coin on your screen. This is a 1979 Lincoln Memorial cent. At first glance, it looks tired. It looks like it has been through a war. The surface is a dull, mottled brown color with patches of dark oxidation and lighter copper showing through on the high points. Lincoln's portrait is soft. The sharp lines of his hair and beard have been smoothed down by decades of rubbing against other coins in pockets and cash drawers. The fields, the flat parts of the coin, are covered in tiny scratches, bag marks, and fingerprints. To the average person, this is a junk coin. It is the kind of penny you leave in the take-a-penny tray without a second thought. But here at Million Coins, we know that appearance isn't everything. In fact, sometimes the ugliest coins are the ones that hide the biggest secrets. The year 1979 was a chaotic time for the United States Mint. They were producing coins in massive numbers to keep up with inflation and the demand for small change. Because of this high-speed production, quality control often took a backseat to quantity. And when quality control slips, errors happen. And where errors happen, value is created. The first thing you need to check on your 1979 penny is the mint mark. If you see a D under the date, that stands for Denver. Now, in 1979, the punch used to create the D mint mark was notoriously bad. It often filled in with metal chips and grease, creating what collectors call the blob D. Instead of a sharp, clear D, it looks like a solid lump of copper. For a long time, people thought this was just a defect. But today, collectors of die states are interested in these. While a standard blob D might not make you rich, it is a signifier of the era. It tells you that the die was failing, and if the die was failing, other things might be wrong too. You need to look for the 1979 D repunched mint mark. Because the mint mark was punched by hand into the working die, mistakes were common. The mint employee would strike the D, realize it was too high or too low, and then strike it again. On a worn, circulated coin like this, an RPM can be hard to spot.
You need a magnifying glass. Look at the vertical bar of the D. Do you see a second line running parallel to it? Look at the curves. Do you see a shadow curve underneath? A confirmed 1979 D RPM transforms this coin from a 1-cent piece into a coin worth $10, $20, or even $50 depending on the severity of the error. That is a 5,000% return on investment for a coin you found on the ground. But the real mystery of 1979 lies in the wide date versus near date confusion. Typically, this applies to the proof coins struck in San Francisco, the ones with the S mint mark, where the Type 2 clear S is worth significantly more than the Type 1 blob S. However, this anxiety about dates and types has bled over into the circulation strikes. People are constantly hunting for 1979 pennies that look different, and sometimes they find gold. One of the biggest jackpots for 1979 is the off-center strike. Because the minting presses were running at such high speeds, the planchets, the blank metal discs, didn't always seat properly in the collar. If the hammer die came down while the coin was only halfway in, you get an off-center strike. Imagine a 1979 penny where Lincoln's head is shoved to the side and there is a crescent moon of blank copper on the left or right. Even in circulated dirty condition, a 1979 off-center penny is a $50 to $100 bill sitting in your change jar. The more off-center it is while still showing the date, the more valuable it becomes. If you have a 1979 where the date is visible but 50% of the design is missing, you are looking at serious money. Then we have the doubled die possibility. While 1955 isn't as famous as 1979 for doubling, there are minor doubled dies known for this year. You want to look at the words Liberty and In God We Trust. On a true doubled die, the letters won't just look flat or shelf-like, which is common machine doubling and worth nothing. They will look notched. You will see a split at the corners of the letters, like a snake's tongue. If you find a 1979 penny with clear, notched doubling on the lettering, do not clean it, do not rub it, put it in a holder. You have found a variety that die-hard Lincoln cent collectors need for their registry sets. And let's talk about the high-grade potential. This is for those of you who might find a shiny 1979 penny. Maybe someone broke open a piggy bank from 40 years ago. If you find a 1979 penny that is red, meaning it still has that blinding orange luster, you need to be careful. The population of 1979 pennies in mint state 67 or 68 is surprisingly low compared to the billions minted. Why? Because people didn't save them, they spent them. A 1979 penny graded MS68 red is a coin that can fetch thousands of dollars at auction. Yes, thousands for a penny. It sounds insane, but when rich collectors compete to have the best set of Lincoln pennies, money is no object. They will pay huge sums for a coin that is virtually flawless. So if you see a 1979 that looks brand new, treat it like a diamond. Finally, for 1979, we must mention the off-metal errors. In 1979, the penny was made of 95% copper, but sometimes a planchet intended for a dime, which is silver-colored clod, would accidentally fall into the penny press. If you find a 1979 penny that is silver in color, smaller than a normal penny, and sticks to a magnet if it's on a steel washer, or just looks like a dime, weigh it. A standard penny weighs 3.11 grams. If your 1979 penny weighs roughly 2.27 grams, the weight of a dime, you have struck the lottery. A 1979 penny struck on a dime planchet is a coin worth thousands of dollars. It is rare, it is dramatic, and it is the kind of find that gets you featured in magazines. And the crazy thing is, these coins often circulate for a while because people just think they're weird pennies and spend them. So for 1979, your checklist is simple. Check the mint mark for blobs or repunching, RPMs. Look for doubling on Liberty. Check for off-center strikes. If it's shiny and red, protect it immediately. If it's the wrong color or weight, weigh it. Now we are going to move forward 9 years. If you thought 1979 was interesting, you haven't seen anything yet. The next coin on our list is quite possibly the most significant modern penny you can find in circulation. It is a coin that represents a transition, a mistake, and a massive opportunity for the average person.
This is the big one, the 1988 Lincoln Memorial Cent. To the untrained eye, this coin looks exactly like the 1979 we just discussed. It's copper-plated zinc because they changed the metal in 1982, so it might have some bubbling on the surface or zinc rot, but visually it depicts Lincoln on the front and the memorial on the back. It looks boring, it looks common, but in the world of numismatics, 1988 is a year of secrets. The reason 1988 is so valuable lies in what was happening at the mint behind the scenes. In late 1988, the mint was preparing dies for the upcoming year, 1989. The design for 1989 was slightly different on the reverse, the back of the coin. Specifically, the designer's initials, FG for Frank Gasparo, were redesigned. But due to a mix-up or a shortage of dies, the mint accidentally used the 1989 reverse dies to strike some of the 1988 pennies. This created a transitional variety. You have a coin that says 1988 on the front, but has the design of 1989 on the back. This is known as the 1988 RDV006, and let me tell you, this is the coin you want to find. This is the coin that pays the bills. So how do you spot it? You don't need a microscope to see the general area, but you will need a magnifying glass to see the detail. You need to flip the coin over to the reverse side and look at the bottom right, near the rim, next to the Lincoln Memorial Building. You will see the tiny initials FG. On a normal 1988 penny, which is worth 1 cent, the FG initials are relatively bold, but the key is the letter G. On the normal coin, the vertical stroke on the G has a straight leg. It goes straight down. Also, the initials are spaced a little further away from the memorial building. On the rare 1988 variety, RDV006, the FG initials look different. The vertical stroke on the G is flared. It has a little hook or serif on it. It looks like a stylized G. Furthermore, the initials are polished down and look a bit more delicate, but the easiest tell for most people is the spacing. On the rare variety, the FG is slightly closer to the memorial steps. But stick to the flared G. That is the golden ticket. If you find a 1988 penny, either from Philadelphia, no mint mark, or Denver, D mint mark, that has that flared G on the reverse, you have found the RDV006. Now let's talk about value, because this is where it gets exciting. A standard circulated 1988 penny with the normal reverse is worth 1 cent, maybe 2 cents if you melt it down, which is illegal. But if you find the 1988 RDV006 variety in your pocket change, even if it is brown, even if it has a fingerprint on it, that coin is instantly worth $20 to $50. Think about that. You just multiplied your money by 5,000 times just by looking at 2 tiny letters. But wait, it gets better, much better. If you are lucky enough to find this variety in uncirculated condition, meaning the coin is still red and shiny, the price jumps dramatically. A 1988 RDV006 graded MS65 red can sell for $300 to $500. And if you find a top pop example, a coin that grades MS67 or MS68, we are talking about a coin that has sold for thousands. There are auction records of high-grade 1988 transitional varieties selling for over $1,000. And the craziest part is that these coins were released into circulation. They weren't locked away in special sets. They were put into rolls, sent to banks, and dumped into cash registers. There are absolutely still some out there, sitting in jars, waiting to be found. The 1988 penny also has other secrets. We need to talk about planchet bubbling. Since 1982, pennies have been made of zinc with a thin copper coating. 1988 pennies are notorious for having bubbles under the plating. You might see a coin that looks like it has blisters. Many people think these are rare errors. I have to be honest with you, usually they are not. That's just linear plating blisters or zinc rot. It's a defect, but not a valuable one. But do not confuse plating blisters with a double strike. If you see a 1988 penny where the date or the face of Lincoln is actually stamped twice and the images are offset, that is a major error. Zinc pennies strike differently than copper ones, and sometimes the coin doesn't eject properly. A 1988 double-struck penny is a dramatic, ugly, wonderful error that collectors will pay $50 to $200 for. Another thing to look for on the 1988 is the floating roof. This is a result of over-polished dies. Look at the Lincoln Memorial on the back. Look at the roof of the building. On some 1988 pennies, the lines connecting the roof to the rest of the building have been polished away. It makes the roof look like it's hovering in the air above the columns. This is called the floating roof variety. While not as valuable as the RDV006, it's a fun variety that sells for a premium on eBay. It proves that the die was being overworked, which is a common theme for the late 80s. But let's circle back to the RDV006, because I cannot stress enough how important this coin is. It is considered one of the most significant varieties of the Lincoln Memorial series. It is a crossover coin. It bridges the gap between the vintage era and the modern era. When you are hunting, you need to get into a rhythm. Pick up a coin, check date. 1988? Good. Flip it. Look at the FG. Street G? Toss it in the spend pile. Flared G? Jackpot. It takes 2 seconds, but those 2 seconds can make you hundreds of dollars. Why is this important? Because most people don't know. The average person sees a shiny 1988 penny and thinks it's just a new penny. They don't know that the reverse die was wrong. They don't know that the mint made a mistake. Only you know. You, the subscriber of Million Coins, have the knowledge, and knowledge is what separates the collectors from the accumulators. So let's recap the strategy for 1988. Isolate every 1988 penny you find. Don't mix them with the others. Get your magnifier. You really need to see the serif on the G. Check for the flared G. If it has the serif, you have the RGV 006. Check the condition. If it is red, handle it like toxic waste. Do not touch the surface. Put it in a protective flip immediately. Check for other errors. Floating roofs and double strikes are bonuses. Both the 1979 and the 1988 pennies represent something beautiful about coin collecting. They represent the hunt. You don't need to buy expensive metal detectors or travel to shipwrecks to find treasure. The treasure is circulating around you every single day. It's in the jar on your dresser. It's under your car seat. It's in the change the cashier just handed you. The 1979 might have a rare RPM or be struck on a dime planchet. The 1988 might have the rare 1989 reverse that is worth a car payment. But you will never know if you don't look. The biggest tragedy in coin collecting isn't buying a fake coin. It's spending a real rarity for face value because you didn't check. So here is my challenge to you. Tonight, go through your change. Find every 1979 and 1988 penny you have. Put them on the table. Turn on a bright light and start hunting. Look for the blobs, look for the notches, and look for that flared G. If you find one, take a picture and let us know. And remember the values I mentioned. The thousands of dollars for high-grade examples are real. These are auction records. People are paying this money right now. The market for high-quality modern errors is exploding because new collectors are entering the hobby and they want something they can find in circulation. You have the supply, they have the demand. All you have to do is make the connection. Thank you for watching Million Coins. If this video helped you or if you just love the thrill of the hunt, please hit that like button and subscribe. We have so many more secrets to share, from the 1992 close AM to the 1999 wide AM, and we don't want you to miss a single one. Keep your eyes open, keep your magnifier handy, and happy hunting. I'll see you in the next video with another discovery that could change your life.